long-term use of anti-CD20s is another quite interesting and perhaps somewhat controversial issue. I say controversial, but I think it's just because we haven't been using these products for very long in multiple sclerosis. So we don't really have the long-term real-world evidence to confirm safety. Of course, the phase 3 clinical trials were very favorable in terms of safety. But of course, the phase 3 clinical trials are usually around about 2 years long. So the longer extension studies are helpful, but part of the problem with that is that there is a gradual attrition in terms of numbers, and that can be a little bit difficult to interpret safety data when people are dropping out, possibly because of safety issues. So I think that long-term extension data is important, but I think there is also a need, for ongoing real-world studies in this. I think there is some evidence in long-term use of Rituximab and to some extent Ocrelizumab that there is a depletion of IgG in many people. There's also a considerable depletion in IgM, but the clinical significance of that is less certain. So the reduction in IgG hasn't been observed quite to the same extent in Ofatumumab, and of course other drugs like Rituximab that are coming to the market are very early and we don't have that data yet. I think it's yet to be seen whether with longer durations of follow-up with some of the other anti-CD20s they also follow a similar pattern, or whether they actually do have a slightly different mode of action at the anti-CD20 that would somehow mitigate that risk. I personally can't see why that would be, and I suspect it's going to be a class effect. So in that case, what needs to be studied is not just a laboratory biomarker like IgG, but it needs to be the clinical product of that. So really, clinically significant infections, serious infections, and so on. So I think we don't really have the data yet to know whether long-term use of anti-CD20s is safe. I think that, it's possible that by being a little bit more personalized in the way that we use anti-CD20s, we might be able to keep people on them for longer. But again, the concerns about doing that is that you're usually talking about stretching out the dose interval. And of course, the natural concern from patients and clinicians will be that there'll be return of disease activity in that interval. So I think we just need to keep working to get better evidence to guide patients.